make it official.
Recording in progress.
We are now open for business. The Town of Ellettsville Redevelopment Commission. I guess we'll stand and say a prayer. Lord, I know that we can't do this on our own. We need your strength to carry us through the day. Please give us the courage to face any challenges that come our way and resilience to keep going even when it gets tough. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I guess we'll do roll call.
Okay. William Ellis. Tom Foreman.
Here.
Dr. Hash. Trevor Sager.
Here.
Carl Thurman.
Here.
Approval of the minutes of March 10th, 2025 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from March 10th, 2025 meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Would you like to wait for Dr. Hash, or do you want to?
We might as well wait for Dr. Hash. He's in the building.
I'd love some less to run it. Sorry for my tardiness.
That's all right. You weren't loud.
Where we at?
We're
We just
approve the minutes.
Minutes.
Awesome.
We're about to take it to a vote.
Yeah, we haven't taken a roll call, so I'm going to do a roll call vote for Dr. Hash.
Present.
Okay, and then we had a motion from Trevor Sager and a second from Carl Thurman. Now we'll do a roll call vote for approval of the minutes of the March 10th meeting. Tom Corman,
Here. Yes.
Dr. Hash,
Approve.
Trevor Sager,
Yes.
Carl Thurman.
Yes.
And that was our approval of the minutes. Are we good to go to new business?
Correct.
New business would be review of the TIF management report. Is that someone has expertise that would like to fill us in?
Well, I don't know if I have expertise, but somebody who has expertise prepared this. So you will recall that there are a number of reports due with regard to TIF management of TIF monies, and this is a report that Baker Tilly prepared, and it's due to be filed with the Indiana Department of Local Government Finance by tomorrow. And as you can see, this is the TIF Management Annual Report, and this is the report that I had emailed the board members last week or the week before. And basically, it shows that there are total revenues of $0 and total expenditures of $0, but nevertheless, because the TIF districts had been established, we need to file this report with the DLGF by tomorrow. So the Ellettsville Redevelopment Commission minutes need only to reflect that you have received the report and that you are passing along to the town council, and this is an agenda item for them. So.
Okay. So based on what we have here, anybody have any questions on this before we, okay, we have reviewed the TIF management annual report for the redevelopment commission, and we've reviewed it with no questions, no issues.
Yeah.
Move to pass it on to the town council.
That's just formality. No votes required, then?
No, your minutes just need to reflect that you've received it
Perfect.
and that it will be passed along to the council.
And then once we get it on the minutes for the council, then tomorrow morning, I'll upload it to the gateway.
Okay. Hopefully next year this will look different. It won't be zero.
Well, and hopefully next year we'll know the process, so it won't be the day before it's due.
Yes. All good, yeah. I understand. I wrote some checks out today myself.
So, my apologies to the board. I thought it was gonna be a few minutes late.
Apology accepted.
For the record, roll call, William Ellis,
Yes.
All right, so if we have put that in our minutes, next would be discussion of to clarify the TIF parcel numbers, legal descriptions. I'm gonna turn that back over.
I just wanted to make the board aware that the town had turned over to the auditor's office the legal description, parcel numbers, and maps for the proposed TIF districts. The auditor found, one of the individuals in the auditor's office found what she believes to be inconsistencies. So I am working through those. I met with Denise last Thursday for not quite an hour, and I'm working through what the auditor's office perceives to be inconsistencies, and then I will get with the auditor's office and hopefully we'll figure out by the next meeting what we need to do to correct this, to make it clear, because the auditor has found, for example, in the West Side TIF, she says that there were parcels that were not listed on the survey exhibit but drew off as being within the legal description. With regard to the downtown TIF, she found, again, parcels not listed on the survey exhibit but drew off as being within the legal description. She found 3 or 4 parcels where the opposite occurred, listed on the survey exhibit but did not draw off within the legal. So I just need to figure out how to fix this. I don't think that we will need to start all over. In other words, resolution, plan commission, town council back to the board. I think we can just clear it up with a clarifying resolution, just so that we're all on the same page. And as long as we don't have anything contained in that resolution that was not already either in the legal description or in the parcel list that was passed by this board, I think we can just clear it up with another resolution. So I will get with the auditor's office, probably we'll get back to Bynum Fanyo, and I'll let the board know how we are going to fix this.
And was it Bynum Fanyo that drew that worked on the?
Yes, Bynum
Okay.
Fanyo prepared the legal.
Okay.
So it's just clarifications all.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
It's not like there's an area that was not in the legal description and was not in the sketch,
Correct.
which that probably would be a
Correct.
different problem, correct?
Yes, yes. And a lot of the inconsistencies are like NDOT right-of-ways, so I can kind of see how that would be a problem, but anyway, we're working through it. So I just wanted to advise the board of that.
Any other questions on the clarification of the parcel numbers, legal descriptions? I did have one question. We had kind of alluded at one point under new business that we were going to add additional TIF area that we didn't include initially,
Yes,
to include the land going further east, is that correct?
We
East.
talked about it.
Where or when does that become is it a working meeting, or where would that actually come into play?
I think we was kind of waiting around to see what happens up north, and I mean, we could call one anytime you want. It was talked about a year ago or a few years ago, I can't remember, but you know, it's worth exploring, that's for sure.
I feel more comfortable with getting this TIF fully established. I mean, how do you guys feel? And then we can,
Right, no, I'm wanting to parallel. You know, so my thought is that not to add that into this, but to not start new and then it'd be December of next year and we're saying, oh, what about that other TIF? Have we paralleled that with some of our work, even with a working meeting, which we've not had, or sometimes where you can sit down and say, okay, when do we at least want to, you know, figure out where that is, and not
Figure
a
out a
priority.
timeline.
Yeah, not a priority, but a thing that we want to get rolling so that it comes along with the rest of it. So I just wanted to bring that up and have that open for anybody having any discussions, or how we could do that down the road, or if we just table it right now with the idea that once this gets clarified, that we can bring it back up again. I just don't know what the difference is if we wait. I can only assume that if we wait later on to bring in a TIF, then as the area is developed and it's not part of our TIF, then we've missed the potential revenues to help develop the areas and bring even more stuff along if we wait till it's already developed.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to wait any longer than we have to, or need to.
I think
Yes.
as long as it's done this year, we're okay, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So it'd be on our agenda for,
Yeah, I was thinking a couple months to get
Okay.
there.
sounds fair.
I'm not
That's,
saying we shouldn't talk about it, because we absolutely need to.
Right.
yeah.
Mike's probably right, I'd wait for a couple of weeks until they figure out what they're doing up north.
Okay, well, sounds good. That was the only question I had on new business. Privilege to the floor? Thoughts, discussions? Rumor mill?
Don't open that up.
Okay. Okay, commissioner comments?
I actually have something. First of all, I want to know, how was the flooding for your place? I know you got hit.
Deep.
Oh, yeah.
It was 15 inches shorter than the 2013 flood. So had they not done all that work along the creek, it would have been, chin high, so.
And I just, one of the reasons I'm late, I was talking to some of the, figured you'd be here, I could talk to you, and I was talking to, at the hair place and the insurance place, talking to them, and they were showing me the water line. It came up pretty high all the way back. And I'm thinking, as one of the things I think we'll have to discuss before we can really, I don't know if we can get it fixed, but it could really hinder our progress developing this area if we can't have some type of plan, either through how they're building or whatever, to fix this, because getting a business to come in and having 12 to 15 inches of water, that's just not
It's a no-go.
right.
Yeah.
And I want to make it clear, no one that I talk to is upset at the town for anything. I mean, they're not like, you guys, they're just like, what's the next steps? And I think that as an RDC, we almost need to lead with that. I mean, because if we get like waypoint signs and all this stuff, that's great. But if we have a foot of flooding, we just wasted money on things that are not going to bring us any return.
Mike, what was phase 2 of the project? 'Cause I remember when we did the shelving, it was a 3-phase
Right.
thing.
That's right, and the first, thank you. The first phase that we've done, the report said it should help South Street by about 14 inches. So it's pretty close to what you said. The second phase is to go to McNeely and work on McNeely Bridge. We've got a proposal from Christopher Burke, might have to get it updated, but I think for around $52,000, they could put together the next phase. Then all we need to do is come up with, I don't know, $5,750,000 and commence the work. We could go back to the county and see if they would help us with the work. I mean, the bridge at McNeely is somewhat of a dam, and the fix, simplistically said, is to put a couple box culverts in so the water doesn't back up and it keeps flowing through. That's only will help to a certain, height of flooding, but if the first phase did what they said it was doing, and they come up with a second phase that says it will do X for flooding downtown, maybe we ought to go ahead and talk about spending some money and getting prepared for phase 2. And if we're prepared, then if any money's available, which right now is slim and none, but if and when the time comes, we would be prepared, kind of
Right.
shovel
We have the
ready,
plan.
to use
Yep.
that phrase. But so the other thing I'd say is, I think when they originally built the bridge that's at Sale and 46 West now, the plan was, if it finally got to flood stage and backed up, it was supposed to go across the bridge on the west side. That was the overflow. And that's exactly what it does. So anytime you talk about flood mitigation, no matter what we do, Mother Nature will sooner or later catch up with it and say, well, try this one for size. So
Yes.
you know, but I do believe, I mean, all I'm interested in is when you want to start that next phase. And I think the first idea is to spend about 50 grand and get a plan, and not plans, but get a plan
Right.
ready so we can move forward.
Then the next question, would that be an RDC thing or a council thing? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. But it
Alright.
doesn't hurt when the sister or brother organizations or boards work in tandem to, you
Right.
know.
Make recommendations.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Obviously, it
absolutely.
affects us. I mean,
Right.
you can't talk about making the downtown a whole new downtown and bring in business, all these things, if it's underwater.
I agree.
Yeah.
There's lots to talk about. As soon as I knew it was flooding, I came out about 1:30, and I stayed till about 4:30. So I got there at the peak, and by the time 4 o'clock come around, it was receding. I mean, that's how fast it goes up and down. And I had some really good videos of how you mitigate building in a flood zone. And the church down on Vine Street is a real good example of how you can survive heavy flooding. Like, the video is just crazy because it looks like it's sitting in the middle of a river, but I know all their outbuildings that wasn't built up on stilts didn't do as well. But anyway, there's several things we can do to encourage economic development downtown, including flood mitigation, but we can also, there's different ways to build that makes it work.
You gotta regulate the building to some degree as far as being prepared for
Right.
flooding.
If you're an existing structure like Carl's has, it's, you know, it's pretty defeating every time this happens. And I think the last flood was February 7th, 2019, which kind of was just like this flood. And
It
so,
wasn't quite as bad,
yeah.
but this
How-
one here was
Jill was telling me your house just had some water in the basement. Is that
a lot of water.
a lot of water? Okay, so it's not.
About 6 feet of water. So if I was to walk all the way down, I'd have to have a snorkel.
Wow.
That's how deep it was down
Okay.
there. Took out our
But it's
furnace.
underground.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know that the furnaces at my
Yeah.
parents up in Indianapolis had that issue that every time it flooded, pretty much.
Yeah, I
right
took
to term-
out our furnace, water heater, washer and dryer, everything that's in the basement.
It was a remarkable amount of water.
No, absolutely. And like I said, I want to make, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody and saying shoulda, woulda, coulda or anything. And I want to commend the fire department and police for, there's some people that needed to be rescued in some of the apartments there, so thank you. But, I mean, that was a lot of the questions I've been getting is kind of what are the next steps? And I don't want,
It's spelled out for us already. I mean, the original plan had a phase 2
Right.
and a phase 3.
so, I mean, probably the best time to, I think we need to discuss this at the council tonight.
Is that on your agenda for this evening?
Well, I
No.
assumed it would come up. It's not on the agenda, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
So I was gonna say, is it good for us to recommend, I mean, if we're sisters and brothers and we're gonna talk about it, do we, I mean, obviously you're gonna do it anyways, but if it helps to have backup from your other organizations.
Wouldn't hurt.
Do we wanna make a recommendation that when the council
The
will talk about stage
wind in
two?
the sail always makes you move.
Okay. Well, I think that we wanna make a recommendation to the council that they speak about the next phase of, what you call it, water, not retention,
mitigation.
mitigation,
mitigation.
flood mitigation. Verbiage, anybody have something else to add to it?
I agree. I do think we have to be careful to manage expectations, to let people know it's mitigation, not elimination.
Right.
When it comes to,
Right.
yeah, with Mother Nature, all I can be sure is that we're gonna have another rain or another dry spell.
Or another 2008 rain.
Yes,
And so a lot of people don't know it, but in 95 or 94, Kevin, it rained 11 inches just in Ellettsville.
95.
95.
Was God
11
mad at
inches.
us?
And it was like in a really short amount of time. And it literally was a cloudburst that just kept growing, wouldn't move, kept growing. And they had 11 inches of rain and it flooded everything, obviously, flooded the sewer plant. That's when IDM called us and said, hey, we got an idea. And it's kind of when our company started, Biofinity Utilities, so.
Just out of curiosity, it's not a big thing, but is the McNeely Bridge, is that inside our TIF?
The county operates and maintains that bridge, and that's normal for all the bridges. And so we obviously have to talk to them. And
I was just thinking, I don't
Collaborate
know
with
that our
them on it.
funds could go toward that, could it?
Probably not for necessarily the bridge, but that's why I think Darrell recommended the council, that
Sure,
way it takes
sure.
all. There's not like whose finger is,
Yeah, no,
it'll benefit the entire town.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but you're right, that's a big bottleneck for expanding on the west side when you can't get to the west side. I know that's just occasionally hit and miss, but
Yeah.
yeah, it is. When people talk about it, they talk about it like it's all the time. The other idea too is there anything we can do to get ahead? Because I saw a couple things I'm a Facebooker a little bit, on social media, and I think there's just a lot of confusion. I think a lot of people really care, but they're confused on, we got to do redevelopment committee, but why isn't this being done? The city council is, like you said, some explanation of, hey, it's understood, we're working on it, it's being prepared, we understand it, we agree. But like you said, that it can only be mitigated, it can't be stopped based on where we are from a geographic standpoint.
Yep.
So I think a lot of people really care, but I think there's a lot of confusion on who to point the finger at.
Right.
well,
And there doesn't need to be any finger pointing.
Right.
there you go.
But sometimes
Mother nature.
sometimes you get ahead of it with some type of, rationale. The city council is aware of this, we're working on that, and I don't know, just suggestions. I like
yeah.
to put out fires before they happen.
No, I completely understand. I mean, people, why haven't you put up flood walls, things like that? And I'm thinking I'm not an expert on this, but if it were so basic to just put up flood walls, I'm sure we would want that option.
But if you put a flood wall
It's
in,
just
you're going to
pushing
flood somebody else.
Right.
Everything you do has a
Reaction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the mitigation definitely seems to help the Chandler side of things.
Absolutely.
That's the other thing, there was some mud, I believe, that ran across 46 from, do you have any information on that, like a little mini mudslide?
No, the only place I know of was there was a little on Vine Street, and then there was a little mud in the parking lot of the Presbyterian Church. And there was some.
What was reported to
There
me
was
was
some
like that 7 Oak
intrusion
sign.
into the foyer of the funeral home from across the highway.
That's what I'm
It
talking about.
flooded the highway and brought some of the mud, because Seven Oaks is doing some kind of project there with the fields,
Okay,
and the fields are kind of tore up.
okay, so this isn't probably a chronic thing, just
I
once
don't
that,
believe so.
okay.
Yeah, it probably is. Anytime you have that much rain, you're gonna have mud somewhere.
Well, no, yes, but, correct.
It was, I mean, the force of the rain was kind of
Intense.
crazy. I mean, it took a lot of the rock out of Jackson Feet, and where our flood mitigation is now, there's a creek bed, if you go down there and look, and it just laid that rock out like somebody laid it out. And so it moved from farther up east or south, whatever you want to call it, and brought it into it on Vine Street along the banks and just laid out a whole new creek bed. Now it's dry, of course.
Right.
But I think the north part of town maybe got the most rain, by best I could tell, because Rattler flooded really bad. And normally Stewart Park, it doesn't get out of its banks like it did this time.
Right.
And it was out more than I've ever seen.
I even see some damage to the town hall here from the winds.
I'm sorry?
I said, there's even some damage for us here from the winds.
Yeah, it was Wednesday.
Okay.
That was the other story.
Okay,
So anyway,
that's all I had to say.
I'll dig up all the information for, I might even try to find it before the next meeting.
Okay.
I think we have a Christopher Burke report in there somewhere.
I think one other thing that I was gonna bring up, which is, I'm sure you guys are totally aware of, is we had the speed limit change from 45 to 35 on Ellettsville. And I will have to say, someone who lives on Ellettsville and someone that's been here at that podium more than once on the speed limits, I'm very happy about it. I also think for redevelopment, I think if we want to continue to develop off of 46 and make things expand, people are gonna be more apt to want to come and do it if they realize it's not so hard to get in and out. So I know there's been a lot of comment on that too, but I'll have to say, for someone that lives there and sees how it affects your ability to get in and out and not feel like you're being rammed every day, I appreciate whoever pushed, pulled, and whatever happened to change it. I think we can get people to slow down. If we're gonna make this place beautiful, especially downtown, once the mitigation happens, we want them to be going slow enough so they can really see all the new things and the signs and the businesses and stop and utilize them. So I just wanna make a comment on
And just
that.
to be clear, you say people sometimes don't understand. That came from a study in 2023 by NDOT. And basically, I mean, we asked them to send us why they did it and some bullet points. And basically, they're doing this in a lot of towns that have the same kind of thoroughfare through it and the same ingredients for thinking about changing the speed limit. And it really boils down to pedestrian activity, traffic flow. It's called AADT or something, but it's average daily traffic flow. And those were really, and crashes, and those were really some of those were the main points of why they did this, but they didn't do it here. It's not specific to Ellettsville. It is, we're part of a new trend, a new way NDOT does their speed limits in areas like this, and we're just one of many. So it seems like it was pointed towards us just because it sometimes was the Indianapolis 500 out there, but it was not about that. I mean, it was all that other data. So nobody, I mean, we actually were having a meeting that Monday before they changed it on Tuesday with the police, and we were talking about traffic flow and some of the people that weren't yielding right-of-ways, and we got the message while we was having a meeting that the next day they was going to change the speed limits. So that's how that came.
Yeah, I texted Mike because I thought it was an April Fool's joke with somebody.
Yeah, because it was
I mean,
right April Fool,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
April 1st is
Yeah.
when they, but, and also realistically, it is the least expensive thing they can do to address the problems of
Besides
residents.
lights.
Right. And lights actually will kind of clog up. I mean, the perfect solution is, it's not, I can't see any way it could be done, but State Road 46 has to actually be a road, not a street. There should not be any right hand or left hands off to it. It needs to have street stoplights and then frontage roads. But I'm not kidding when I'm sure that would cost billions, because not only would you have to do it, you would have to eminent domain so many businesses right up along the road, and it would just be
For the access road.
yeah. I mean, it would. I don't think we have the real estate to do that going forward. That's something we probably should. I mean, we need to be really cognizant of that, because that actually is the best way to continue traffic flow and not confuse streets and a road. You need streets for turnoffs.
Right.
Roads are supposed to be from point A to point B, stoplight to stoplight. But we've kind of gotten out of that. Not just us, just
I think someone had timed it and said it took an extra 45 seconds to go from one end to the next with a new speed limit, hitting all the lights, but it adds less than a minute to your
well, I
travel
was 3
time.
minutes late, so I'll say it's 3 minutes.
Yeah. All right, well, that's off topic, but
Yes.
again, I knew that's something new that happened since we had met. I don't have any more new business.
You might as well talk about taxes too, and just get them all out there.
We did the privilege to the floor. Anybody else, this last statements make anybody wanna feel like they wanna talk about it? No? I guess that's it, right? All right, if that's the case and no more questions, no more privilege of the floor, this time we'll adjourn the meeting for the Ellettsville Redevelopment Commission for Monday, April 14th, 2025.